Who's the most famous person you've bumped into? Leonardo DiCaprio. He came into the store I was working at to buy something. He was such a chilled guy. Harrison Ford, he held the door of a convenience store for me. Carrie Fisher. I literally bumped into her. It was September 2016 at Edmonton Comic Expo, and I didn't get her autograph because I figured I'd get it at a future convention. Well, that was a good decision. Neil Armstrong, he was a professor at the University of Cincinnati at the time. He struck me as the type of person who wanted no part of being famous. Robin Williams, met him at a game store years ago. A new skate park opened around our way, and there were rumors that Tony Hawk may show up to christen it, so we stopped by. Had to park across the street because it was so packed. The minute we entered the premises, my brother looked to our right and asked, "Is that Tony Hawk?" To which I was like, "Dude, I doubt Tony Hawk would just be out here walking on the path like a norm." "Wait, yeah, that's Tony Hawk." So, we knew Tony might be there, but we didn't expect to walk to the bowl with him together. We both played it cool because I'd always figured super popular people may appreciate people playing it cool from time to time. Got on an elevator at a hotel with two people and a hotel employee. Pressed my floor and faced the door quietly. It was then I heard the employee say, "I just want to welcome you again to the hotel, Mr. Schwarzenegger." He just kind of grunted a thank you. I didn't really do anything, got to my floor and got off without a word. As I walked away, I heard him complaining about the delay. Found out later from friends that his plane got in late and he was hurrying to get to an event. I got to my room, dropped off my things, and went back down to meet my friends and past the people taking him to the event. They didn't look pleased. Honestly, all his bodyguard or the employee had to do was say, "Hey, we're in a hurry. Do you mind taking the next one?" And I would have, regardless of who it was. One time my friends almost got run over by James Earl Jones crossing at a stop sign. "What the hell, James Earl Jones, you almost killed me." LOL, a friend and I were going somewhere in Atlanta and a car was in our way. Looked over and it was Puff Daddy. God damn it, Diddy, get out of the way. Daniel Craig. We were in Santa Fe vacationing. He was there filming Cowboys and Aliens. Pretty nice guy too. Kanye West visited my classroom a couple years ago. He gave us a speech about us manufacturing and how boats is fucking stupid. To show my age, Public Enemy came to my school because they were doing a concert, and my high school was the closest school to the place they were playing. They talked to a classroom of all the bad kids and told us not to join gangs and do drugs and shit. This was right before they got famous, and all I could think is, what's up with the dude with the clock on his neck? 5 years later I ended up going to weird Lollapalooza type show where they played with Sisters of Mercy, Gang of Four and Warrior Soul. Michael Douglas came into a pizza shop I worked at years ago. The waitress told me he sent his compliments, to which I replied, "Who the fuck is Michael Douglas?" He was standing at the register mere feet away, and boy did he look sad. Rick Astley called me a wanker when I seen him in an airport once. I saw Chris Pratt at a Chinese buffet once. It was the Parks and Rec era Pratt though. Stephen King blew by our town one time, and Jake, our gas station attendant, made eye contact with him. That night he lost 200 pounds. I literally bumped into Pierre Cardin in La Costa, France. I tripped Jimmy Buffett in the middle of his concert. I said hi to Tom Selleck at the Blue Angels show in Hawaii. Matt Damon, Neil Patrick Harris and Kristen Wiig. All at once. One of my customers was a studio in Toronto where they were filming the movie Downsizing, and they were at the table beside me in the cafeteria where I was meeting with my contact. Said hi and talked for a minute and not much more, as they were basically on break from work. They were all super nice in any case. Particularly Damon. Hideo Kojima. Apparently, he had traveled to my BF's hometown looking for inspiration, and he was taking a stroll near the cathedral. We didn't talk to him though. My BF is a huge Castlevania fan, but he was so shocked that he just kept walking. Alice Cooper. He was going to a store in Calgary, Raise Your Fist and Yell tour. Got him to sign my jean vest, right between his first and last name across the shoulders. We shot the shit for a few minutes, and then his manager upgraded my tickets from bleachers to third row from the stage. It's what he had. I was too chicken at the time to try to ask for backstage passes. Chester Bennington at one of his tattoo parlors in Arizona. Shook hands with him, I was starstruck. Super friendly guy. Back in the 90s, my dad was at a work-related conference in California and staying at a swank hotel. He was an executive in the federal government, a suit if you will, but he had a great sense of humor and was gregarious. Well, my dad was riding in the elevator and struck up a conversation with some young musicians. One of the guys and my dad were joking and laughing and hit it off. The musician invited my dad to a party later on the top floor where they had rented all the suites. My dad ended up going and had a really great time. When my dad got home, he asked me if I had heard of Kurt Cobain. He's a really good kid. Hug. Barry Goldwater stepped on my foot and was an asshole about it. I later changed my political affiliation. Robert De Niro sat next to him at breakfast in a tiny cafe in New Paltz, New York. He was with his son, so I didn't try to talk to him or get pictures or anything. As I was leaving, I told him I was a big fan and he smiled, nodded, and said thanks. When I told my mom, she casually mentions that she met him years ago on the set of Deer Hunter, and he told her to call him Bob. Nicole Kidman. Last September, I was in Nashville for a music festival, and on our last day in town my friend and I decided to spend the day hiking. We found a lake and drove through a pretty posh neighborhood on the way. We park, get out of the car and head towards the trailhead. I notice a woman walking towards us that really stood out to me. She was really tall and thin, with a ball cap pulled low on a morning walk apparently with her girlfriends. As my friend and I approached, she bumped into me as she was talking, and I heard the accent and saw her face, and it all clicked. I ran into Amber Rose going through border security on the way back home from spring break in Mexico. At first I just thought it was weird that some really hot tall bald chick was wearing giant sunglasses and 5-inch heels in security, then I saw the two very muscular bodyguards with her, and it clicked. I also met Steve-O at my first job. I sold him and his friends some smoothies and then told him how much I loved him and asked for a picture with him, and he was super nice about it. He got arrested the next day for protesting SeaWorld. Tim Allen. He walked into our elevator in Vegas. I made that weird sound from Home Improvement and he chuckled. Sir Ian McKellen came into a coffee shop where I was working as a barista a while back. He ordered a hot cocoa and snacked on our free sample donut holes. I'm 33, so my entire context for this man, from childhood, has been X-Men. Fucking Magneto, Nazi hunter turned super villain, one of the strongest mutants on the planet, just happily noshing on hot cocoa and donut holes. Surreal. George Lucas. I was out with my partner at the time at a restaurant in New Orleans. We were actually dressed up to go to a super fancy ass ball that night, put on by the dude that owns Popeye's Chicken, but that's an entire other story, so we were way more dressed up than I ever get. Like ball gown, little satin clutch, hair, makeup, actually shaved stuff. The works. We were at the bar, waiting for our table to be ready, when my partner looks past me to the end of the bar. He says, "Okay, promise you won't freak out." I give him the side eye and casually glance at that end of the bar. And as I do, George Lucas, creator of Star Wars, and more importantly, of Princess Leia, happens to glance my way and make eye contact. I recognize him, but keep it together, give him a casual friendly smile that I would give any other stranger at a bar, and turn back around to my partner and promptly, but discreetly, freak out. He ended up being seated a few tables over, and I managed to keep it together for the entire meal. Also had the best steak of my life that night. And this is the story of the 300th time I fell in love with the magic that is the city of New Orleans. Elijah Wood. Literally ran into him at Staples Center in Los Angeles. Dude is short and ended up face planting into my boobs. I probably traumatized the poor guy. Oh boy, where do I begin on this one? I was bussing tables and it was after the brunch hour, so the restaurant was empty, or so I thought as a dumb teenager. I kept singing Home Sweet Home to myself. Come around the corner, and there's Tommy and Heather Locklear sitting at the table. He laughed and they were both very kind and gracious. My face matched my red apron. I literally bumped into Troy Aikman. A car was parked, but was sticking out into the street a bit as I was walking along. I stepped onto the street to walk around the car, right as Troy came jogging the opposite direction, and we bumped into each other. When I realized who he was, I just kind of stammered and mumbled something. He kind of smirked and said a quick "excuse me" and went on his way. Literally? Pat Sajak. When I worked at Walt Disney World, I was going backstage at the end of the night, and he was coming out of the same door. We walked into each other. I've seen a bunch of famous people, but he's the only one I bumped into. Darius Rucker at a grocery store. He is amazing. I actually bumped into Yoko Ono going out of a Whole Foods grocery store years ago. I apologized, she said something I didn't understand, and that was it. Ran into Michael Jordan at the video store, back when video stores were a thing. Patrick Swayze, when he filmed that Christmas movie in Edmonton, I was smoking outside and he was doing the same. Shook his hand and said he shaped my childhood with his classics Point Break and Roadhouse. Super nice guy, class act. Took a leak next to Matthew McConaughey in Austin. Was trying to wait for him to leave his urinal first, but we ended up buckling up at the same time and bumped into each other walking by the wall to the sinks. I bumped into Donald Trump back in 2016 when he was still campaigning. I don't know if this counts as bumped into, but I met Mike Pence about 10 years ago. It was a small meeting with only a few other people, and we talked for about 10 minutes. I have pretty much zero memory of anything that was said. Was in a Manhattan shoe store sitting on a massive circular couch. My GF saw Susan Sarandon sitting behind me, say I'm at the 12th position, she is at 6, so GF tries very unsubtly to nod her head at me and mouth Susan Sarandon. After realizing what she was saying, I turn around, I can't see her. So I move to the 11th position. Susan moves to the 5th position on the couch. I still can't see her, so I shrug my shoulders at GF and say, "What?" I move again. Sarandon checks my every move and counters with her own. This goes on for maybe 5 minutes. I eventually see her because there's a mirror down one wall, so I say, "Gotcha." Like I'm playing hide and seek with a 5-year-old. She is still trying to hide, but then sees the mirror and smiles. Tell us which famous person you have bumped into. Please share this video with others who are interested in how others met famous people stories. Drop a comment, click like and subscribe to be notified when I post a new video.